You know, it's kind of funny to me. This is the tutorial and wiki update, and that's cool and all, but as someone who has played this game for over 1600 hours, that doesn't really intrigue me so much, and it's not what I'd like to talk about today because I feel like my audience knows the game enough that they don't really need the tutorials. There's other more exciting and more frustrating features in this update for a veteran like me. However, just to quickly cover them, there's now a series of tutorials accessible through the main menu. I personally tried the first one, but since I already know everything it's trying to teach me, I got bored and gave up after filling the sand domes on the Cook Mogul. From what little I did see, these tutorials do seem to get the point across. The help menu has also been revamped into what the dev team is calling a wiki. I'm not sure I'd call it that. It feels more like a guidebook or a list of extended tooltips to me. It is nice to have, though. As I alluded to a moment ago, the rest of this update, well, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Some of the new features are very welcome and amazing additions to the game, but others feel like bugs and are actively detrimental in my opinion. However, instead of dumping a bunch of hype or a bunch of negativity on you all at once, I figured for this video that I would try and alternate between covering the good and the bad of this update as best I can. With that out of the way though, let's begin on a good note. Because the most exciting new addition to the game has to be the new industry, the wheat farm. It is the first addition for an industry chain that will be expanded on in the next month in the December update. It accepts seed pallets and produces straw bales and grain. Hi there, Store from the Future here. I'm collecting clips and videos to match the audio, kind of hastily at 3 a.m. like the idiot that I am, and as I was doing so, I realized that while at the wheat farm, there were actually three commodities that were generating. Now, we can only access grain and straw bales, but it looks like there is a third loading dock, and that is for wheat. It doesn't have anything displaying on it, but it's likely this will come in the future. It is actively generating wheat, so, yeah, that's just a little nifty thing I noted. That's all. Currently, the one industry seems a little bit underwhelming at a glance. The cargo that it accepts spawns at the freight depot, and since there are no destinations for the cargo that it creates, you just have to return to the freight depot with what you have. Despite three new cargo types being added for all this, all of it only goes between two industries total. Now, there is one thing that makes me super excited for this nonetheless. Two of the three of those load types are carried in boxcars, which triples the total amount of loads that the standard boxcar can handle. Considering how boxcars are one of the most iconic freight car types, and that previously they had hardly any use whatsoever, this is a very welcome addition. After all, my first custom map video that got this channel popular in this niche was made entirely because the original Lake Valley map gives boxcars the shortest run of any car and load combination. Being able to run them loaded in both directions with this new industry is pretty exciting for somebody like me. The boxcar isn't the only car whose load types got updated for this new industry, however. Both standard and plantation bulkhead flats can now handle straw bale, the plantation flat and boxcar can carry seed pallets, and the plantation gondolas can now carry tool crates. I guess that last one isn't really about the new industry, but it's worth mentioning, considering how good they were already before the update. But there are some bad changes here. For one, none of the four-wheeled plantation cars can carry grain, meaning that you can't carry all the cargo types from this new industry. It's weird, but it's not quite as bad as the plantation stake flats, which can no longer carry raw iron for some reason. Not only can we not complete the new industry chain, which is only two industries, with just plantation cars, despite its simplicity, but we cannot complete the old one either. I sincerely hope this is a bug. Also, passenger cars have lost their incorrect tool crate cargo type listing in the buy menu. It's nice, but I think this might have caused a problem because all passenger cars that you bought prior to this update will no longer exist and must be purchased a second time. Depending on how many cars you bought, this issue can be either completely pointless or super demoralizing. I'm lucky I only bought like 5 coaches across all of my playthroughs. While we're still in the buy menu, 2 locomotives have been updated, the Montezuma and the Eureka. The Montezuma is a pretty terrible engine, as on steeper hills its own tender weighs it down so much that the Porter, despite being 1,000 pounds of tractive effort weaker, can pull more weight. On flat ground, the only benefit that it really had was a larger fuel bunker. With this update, however, its speed has been increased from 16 miles per hour to 22, letting it better outperform the Porter on flatter, longer routes. The Eureka had a very similar issue, as the Glenbrook, which was only $200 more expensive, was 9 miles an hour faster and had 2,000 pounds of tractive effort more. With the new update, however, the Eureka's speed has been matched with the fastest locomotives in the game, letting it speed along at a whopping 30 miles an hour, outclassing the Glenbrook by about 5 miles an hour. The Glenbrook will still handle hills better, but the Eureka now has a leg up to her sister on flat ground, kind of like how the Montezuma now has a leg up compared to the Porter. One of the things about this update, though, that frustrates me the most is kind of disguised as a blessing. When you open up your company finances tab, there is now a nifty clock telling you what time it is. That's pretty awesome. And also, in addition to that, the UI for adjusting the day-night cycle has been greatly improved. But they removed some crucial features. You cannot pause time anymore. And if you're someone like me who likes having a shorter night than a day, or maybe you're the polar opposite and you like having a shorter day than night, you cannot play with randomized weather while having that sort of day-night cycle. You can go into the menu repeatedly to brute force your way through these issues, but that's going to get tiring super fast, and I really hope this gets changed soon, like this change gets mildly rolled back. Because the UI is awesome, but the lack of an ability to pause time to better set up screenshots or to have a shorter night if you're somebody who doesn't like driving in darkness is just extremely frustrating. There are some better additions to the menuing, though. In the options for your controls, you can now adjust your mouse sensitivity. That is a very welcome change. And another very welcome change is the fact that you can now delete saves in-game. You can only do so while you have a save loaded up already, but it's still really nice that we can now clean up our saves without having to go to the save file directory and manually delete them one by one. The Lake Valley world border has been shrunk so that you can't quite get as close to the edge as before, which is very frustrating if you placed anything too far out. I've heard some people have lost access to entire industries on their maps thanks to this change. Personally, I've only had some tracks blocked off, but that's still really frustrating. Save and load times have been improved, and that duplicating delivery bug that a lot of people were mentioning and reporting in the last update has been fixed. And, to end off our list for the day, the Telegraph House and Water Tower at spawn can now be deleted. However, this was implemented poorly, and if you try and load a save from before the update, the Telegraph House and Water Tower will be deleted. They'll be gone. Now, some of you might realize that you could use the respawn tool for this. Don't. Do not use the respawn tool. There is a pretty critical bug with it right now. Because if you do, your XP and money get set to 0, and you will lose all of your progress. Instead of doing that, you should try to fly over by starting to place an industry, but once you reach your destination, cancel out of placing the industry with a right click. It's safe, it's fast, and it will not reset your progress. Alright, What's my verdict? Well, the new additions to the game are very nice, and I look forward to the rest of the industry chain next month. The updates to pre-existing stuff is a bit scuffed. Some good, but I'd personally say more bad. As is expected of bugs, they're annoying. I generally try to speak of the positives for each update for this game. I think this is from a little bit of a bias, having previously been on the team for a game that did monthly updates, and watching those updates deteriorate the core of what made that game fun to begin with, eventually leading to me quitting the team and disowning the game entirely. I'm glad to see monthly updates in this game that are moving it in a good direction, even if only a few steps at a time. While I can still see that good in this update, and I'm excited to play it, the flaws and frustrations aren't so minors this time around. I can't brush them out of my conscience so easily. I don't think I can say this update is good. Parts of it certainly are, but others are too concerning. I'm a bit miffed with these flaws, and it doesn't help that the most exciting part of this update, the new wheat farm industry, is only one of a whole industry chain that we know is going to be coming in the next month. As a map creator, I don't want to start work on a major project involving this industry when I know its placement will be better or worse based on its proximity to all other industries, especially those in its own industry chain, which I don't even have access to, so I can't even plan around them yet. I'm looking forwards to the whole chain coming out next month, but right now I really hope a hotfix comes in the next week or so. I'm still going to play Railroads Online. I still do love this game and think that it is good, but I'm disappointed with this one. Anyways, thank you for watching. I hope this was informative, and I'll see you all next month for hopefully a better update. Cheers, folks.